So if somebody could move to slide 2, please. Thank you. So typically when we're talking about changes at the user interface or user experience level, we're talking about changes to what it looks like in terms of visual design, changes to the structure of what you're seeing in front of you as well. And then obviously the most important criteria is, are we making it easier to use for you and everyone else who is on the system as well? And I was looking at some of the more recent research on the impact that improving the user's experience and performance in the application can have, and it's often an improvement of 20% or more, whether that's in terms of efficiency on your side or performance or fewer mistakes or a combination of all of those. And so that's one of the sort of central goals that Harvinder and team have been focusing around is producing something that's better organized so that it allows you to do your work more efficiently. It also means more satisfied staff members. If you have staff members who are repeatedly within the solutions and are using them on a daily basis, having a design that's more intuitive and easy to use cuts down on training time and it increases employee satisfaction as well, not to mention their ability to get more done. And then finally, along with everything else that you have, your system is part of what you're presenting as your firm to your clients as well. And so this allows you to better present your firm to your clients and provide perhaps a more modern perspective on who you are representing yourself to be to your clients as well. So I just wanted to give that sort of brief overview in terms of what we're hoping to accomplish and what this sort of a project in general can accomplish. It's I think, a really important step for us. It's more than just updating screens. I think it's part of providing more value to you and you being able to provide more value internally and externally as well. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Harvinder and Roger at this point.
All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the new user interface webinar. My name is Harvinder Vasir. I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself before we dive into the details of what we have been working on for the last few months. My name is again Harvinder Vasir. I am VP of Technology at AccountantsWorld. I have a bachelor's in computer science, an MBA, and about 20 years of experience in technology. I've been at AccountantsWorld for over a year now, and it's been a great ride so far. So what's the agenda today? Let's go over that. So the main items in our agenda is introduce the core values that influenced our interface design. How does it help you as the customer? How does it help your customer? Go over that and try to kind of understand and in details. Introduce the portal homepage, how the homepage has changed and how does it look, how we have made it better. Introduce the overall navigation structure, and then look at specific features of the product and process improvements. So we'll look at payroll, we'll look at accounting, and we'll look at look and feel of some of the other products. The concentration of the presentation is going to be on the payroll and accounting. So I'll be moving between screens. I'll show a couple of screens of payroll and then move to a couple of screens of accounting. So hopefully that'll you'll get a flavor of both. So what were the core principles that influenced our redesign, and why did we do that? Those are the main questions that needs to be asked. So one of the main important things, we wanted to make sure that the new design is intuitive, it's clean and modern. It gives an image of a modern software, which it is, a great software. And that also passes on along from firms to the actual end clients. Make it easy on the eyes. We understand that a lot of people, a lot of our clients from the firm side as well as from the client side spend a tremendous amount of time on in front of the computer, looking at the software and working on different aspects of the software. And it's very important to make sure that the look and feel is not distracting, and it's intuitive to use, and it's easy on the eyes. Make common actions available at all times. We have brought out some of the common actions that are needed, and we'll go over in more detail as we progress through the presentation. Use consistent icons to indicate certain actions, industry-specific icons which are recognized by anybody, like a mail icon or an Excel icon or a Word document icon or a PDF icon or a print icon. So use of those during the application, which makes the learning process for a new staff member or a learning process for a client who's doing some kind of a self-service model much more simpler, much more easier. And simplify some of the processes where they were needed, which is, I think, one of the most exciting part of that was to do that. Understand, what the current process is, and then try to see how we can make it smoother, how we can make the screen smoother for our clients. And finally, upgrade parts of the technology which are going to be a little bit more invisible, but their effect is always seen. Upgrade the technology stack in the background. So as you log into the new user interface, this is the portal homepage where you're going to land. As you can see, it's very clean, contrasted by earthy colors, easy on the eyes, and divided into blocks and sections, so that it's very easy to understand, very easy to identify where are the webinars, what are the announcements, where are the testimonials, what are our partners at the bottom. On the left-hand side, you will see all our products, all the products that you have subscribed to. So Accounting Power, Payroll Relief, After the Fact Payroll, Cloud Cabinet, Practice Relief, etc. On the right-hand side, there is going to be a gray bar, which this gray bar is the representation of commonly used functions. Like I said, in one of the ideas was to identify those functions that are used pretty commonly and should be accessible by one click rather than drilling down through menus. We have brought them here. In this particular case, at the home page, you can actually go into the settings. You can go into website relief. You can go into FuseMail to set up your email or change your password credentials from here. Now we're going to start with payroll. As you click on in the previous screen, as you would click on the payroll relief button to get into the left-hand side, to get into the product. This is the first screen that you're going to see. You're going to land on the payroll relief's homepage. If you look here, what we have done is we have divided the navigation into two major parts, actually three major parts. The left-hand side navigation is the navigation that's pertaining to the client that you're working on. The top navigation, the right-hand top navigation, like in this case, payroll center, batch processing, form administration, resources, quick links, are the part of the navigation that pertains to the forum. So the navigations are not mixed up. It's very clear, very identifiable. If you're working on a client, you never need to look up. If you're working on common areas, multiple clients at the same time, you want to do batch processing, you want to do firm administration, that's where you got to look up on the top side. Again, on the right hand side, the gray bar will go into more details on each icon, what it does and what it provides to us, and how we have separated out some of the important functions, some of the functions that are going to be needed more often. At the bottom, you also see that we have two areas at the bottom. So the left area where it says select employer is where you would actually select your client or your employer. Unlike the previous navigation that we had in the current product, where you had to go to a particular page to select an employer or a client. In this case, this is going to be present at every page of the system, making it very convenient for you to change client, make it accessible on every page, so you don't have to navigate back and forth. It not only makes it easier to do that, it actually improves efficiency. At the bottom, on the right hand side of that navigation, is a couple of icons and then some text buttons. The philosophy is this: it will always be icons followed by text. That's the general philosophy of the design, and we will go into more details about each one of those and how they function, what are their, what's the use of these, and how you can actually train your staff better, um, telling them exactly where to look for what. So you want to look at, you want to do client-specific functions, look on the left-hand side. You want to do batch processing, you want to do firm-related functions, you want to look at resources, look at on the top. You want to, and of course, we'll go more detail on the bar, the gray bar on the side in the next few slides. All right. So another interesting thing that you're going to notice is that hamburger menu. Now there are going to be screens where you're going to need a lot of real estate, and this left navigation might cover that real estate. So we have provided this hamburger menu, 3 bars here. Click on that, and this menu will collapse, and you will get the full real estate of the screen in the middle. This particular slide actually shows a person logged into payrolls and going into payroll processing, and then sub menus pop out, and you can choose whichever sub menu you need to choose. I just want to make sure, I want to clarify that the sub menus of most menus have not changed. So the learning curve, although the design is it may look different, may look easier to use, or will of course look easier to use, may look different colors, different color combinations, but the overall approach of usability, or where each thing lies, is kind of very similar to what it was before. So, and we kept that in mind while we were developing that, because we wanted to make sure the learning curve of our current clients, of our firm's users, and of our client users remains to a minimum. Again, giving the advantages of the new design, but also keeping the learning curve to a minimum. Like if you go to compliance, it'll be actually same options that you had in compliance before. E-services, very similar integration, and payroll processing, as you can see. And again, we'll go into a little bit more details of each one of them. Now, the right-hand side, this is, I believe, is one of the most interesting things that has happened in this design. I personally actually love this right-hand side bar. Very accessible, very easy to use. The icons are so obvious that you don't actually even need a help file for this. So the first icon is reports. All reports have moved here. We'll go into that in a little bit more detailed in further slides. Look at how the reports look there and what advantages this structure provides. The second one is the setup, and we'll go into that. Of course, the third icon, very familiar to you all, is your dashboard. You can get to your dashboard anytime on the right-hand side. This triangle with an exclamation is diagnostics. We'll go over more details about that as well. That page has actually been revamped and looks pretty amazing. Notes, alerts, cloud cabinet as it usually was, and the launcher to move between the applications. Now, if last few slides were payroll, now we're actually looking at accounting. If you really look at this, I can't even differentiate whether they are two different products. Concept is the same, is exactly the same. So the learning curve between the two products is minimal. Again, anything that pertains to a particular client usage, once you select a client from the bottom, anything that you need to do on that particular client is on the left-hand side. Now, the sub-menus of banking or sales or expenses or write-up or trial balance have not changed. So that keeps the learning curve easier to adapt to the new user interface. Again, on the right-hand top bar is the firm-related options at the bottom, and we'll go into the bottom. These are the options for a particular page. That means the page that you are on, the activities that you can do on that page, or the actions that you can take on that page. Right hand side, we just went over, and we'll look at them in a little bit more detail in slides to come. Related actions here. This is another interesting concept that got introduced in this new user interface. Very useful. Cleans up the user interface pretty well, and we will go over that as well. So again, I'll spend another minute on this. Look at the left navigation. Anything that is client related on the left. Want to do work on a particular client? Please go to the left. Want to work on firm administration, client center, which is at a firm level functions, please go on the top. And on the right hand side, easy accessible functions. You want to work on a particular page, you are making an action, you're taking an action on a particular page, all your controls at the bottom. These were the controls which used to be the blue controls on the top right hand corner. Now they're all at the bottom, and they do provide much better availability of actions. So the pages that are inside them are scrollable, and these remain static all the time. So if you are on the top of the page, or at the bottom of the page, or in the middle of the page, and you want to save, all you have to do is press the save button. You don't have to scroll your pages up and down, giving a very easy to use interface experience, saving time and saving frustration of learning. Like I said before in the previous slide, we're looking at the banking submenu. It's the same submenu that was there before, so that part has not changed. It remains exactly the same. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the actions now. Now we're back into payroll relief. I'm going to move between payroll relief and accounting. So some slides of payroll relief and then accounting. I hope that that is okay. And this actually helps us not only cover both products at the same time, but also shows that how easy and similar it is, to just navigate. I mean, once you understand the navigation process of one product, the other product is just a cakewalk. All right. So here we're looking at employee setup screen. And the screen, if you look at it, it's so clean. The navigation, the tabs, just walks you through the whole process. You can start from contact, go all the way. It is like a visit. You start from contact, go all the way up to the right, and finish your setup. At the bottom, now these are the icons, or these are the elements, or these are the buttons that we use for actions that need to be taken on the content of this page. So you want to save. This is where our save button is. You want to import from an Excel file. This is where the import is. You want to add another employee, plus sign, very universal. Now nobody can mistake a plus sign for anything else but an add. So add another employee, press the plus button. This small little cloud with an arrow means send something to the cloud cabinet, or save something to the cloud cabinet. And we will discuss a little bit more about this. But the idea is that if you want to send employee data, all employee data into cloud cabinet, you can press this and archive there or save there. Again, notice your selection of client has moved to the bottom, static. This whole bar remains static throughout the navigation, throughout the moving between the pages, between tabs. So you don't have to look for the buttons. You don't have to look for a select client. It's right there. So you worked on one client, you want to move to another client, just select separate client, different client, and move on. Another interesting point, this is pretty universal. Actually, let me go back to the previous slide again. This particular icon, which is also a universal icon for lists, 3 bars with dots shows us a list. So you're going to see this icon at the bottom of many pages. What it means is, let's say you are in employees. Clicking on this will take you directly to the list of employees. So I clicked on that icon and it takes me to the list of employees. Here's the employee list. Again, you can email the selected client, selected employees access to their to the mobile apps or their client their employee center. You can export out in Excel, or you can look at warnings for all employees at the same time. Okay. Now we did talk about this this related links or related actions previously, and this is, you're going to see that on many pages, not every page, but on quite a number of pages. Click on that and it'll open up items that pertain to that page. So if you can't find an item on the bottom gray bar, that means most likely it has been moved into the related actions uh, related actions navigation. So what we have done is we have identified the items of a particular page that are rarely used, that are less used, that are very used under a particular very peculiar scenario, and they clutter the screen, because when a user is doing his or her day-to-day job, they don't need to look at some of the things that they don't need to use every day. And those items have been moved into related actions. These are related actions to this particular page, but they are rarely used. So this is something, as part of the training, as part of getting acquainted to the new user interface, it is a good idea to mention that to your staff or to your clients. Okay, so now we're kind of ready to move into some of the process improvement slides. But before that, we probably will take a 20-second break, and I have some very nerdy, a bit corny jokes for you. These are actually riddles. So if you can answer all of them, please text them to Roger. He may announce your name. So the first is, why did Sally's computer keep freezing? This should be easy. All right, let's see. It had a virus. Why did the computer go to the nurse? Oh, now this should be really, really easy, but I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. Or maybe you can write it down or text Roger. It had a virus again. How do computers snack? I'm sure some of the techies in this group are totally understanding this and are able to answer a lot of them. Well, they eat cookies and spam, one bite at a time. Is it bad to write on an empty stomach? This is so nerdy. No, but it's better to write on paper. Okay, or a computer tablet. Where do baby computer programmers like to sit? That could be my son, actually. Let's see. Oh, on your laptop. What happened to the computer programmer's cheese? Well, the mouse ate it. I think I opened that up before. Why did the computer get a cold? This one is very interesting. Why did the computer get a cold? All right, because it left the windows open. All right. Okay. All right. I hope this was a little break and you guys enjoyed a few riddles. And if you were able to answer all of them to Roger, he might announce your name.
Well, Rhonda was very brave, and she actually answered a couple of them, and she got them right.
Okay, Rhonda, I did.
So we have a techie in there.
All right. Awesome. All right, great. So we're going to move to the next slide now. So we're gonna look at, like I said in the beginning, we did several process improvements, and this was, I would say, one of the most exciting part of this whole redesign, whole redesign. And we'll go over them one at a time. Before we go into process improvements, I would like to do one quick recap. I would like to make sure that we have grasped what we have talked so far, and it is kind of sunk in, because I might be going too fast on the slides, but I want to make sure that it is sunk in, and the philosophy or the concept of the redesign is understood clearly. So on the left hand side is anything that, or all the menu items, the whole navigation when we want to work on a particular client. On the top right hand side is all the navigation when we want to work with firm related functions, firm admin, batch processing, or multiple clients like batch processing or resources or quick links. At the bottom left is select your client. It's available on every page. So you can select your client from any page you are in. You don't have to go to a particular page to do that. You don't have to click 3 buttons. Just go select this, type in your client name, and you're there. The bottom right gray bar, all the actions, all the action buttons are there. The concept is first icons, then text. Save and cancel always on the rightmost, because that's how the human eye works, starting from the left corner top to the right bottom. And that's how we read, that's how we write, that's how we actually work. And save and cancel are right there. Save is going to be always the second last icon, cancel most likely the third, the last icon. All right, on the right hand side gray bar, reports, setup, and we will go in more details on this because they are part of the process improvement that we did, and I think next couple of slides will take us there. Okay. All right, so we're in payroll relief. I will be moving back and forth between payroll relief and accounting, so we get a flavor of both applications at the same time for our audience. I'm going to start with payroll relief. This was, I think, one of the most important things that we did in both applications. We consolidated the whole setup process for a new client in one click. So you want to set up a new employer, your employer options are on the left. You can see exactly, even as a new person, they don't need to be trained to be told that, go into this place or then click on this icon or navigate in a particular way. Click on this button. This is the setup button, and the gear icon is a universal setup button. Again, the use of universal icons. So click on that. It'll tell you what all you need to do, what all we need to do from an employer perspective. You want to set up employees, click on the employees, look at the employees. What all do we need to set up from an employee perspective? What do we need to set up for e-services? ACH application right there, first on the list. Click on the ACH application and you can send it to the client for filling up data, getting their signatures on it, doing yearly authentication, or whatever is needed. Then your taxes, you want to configure taxes, direct file setup, or a 8655 authorization. Then on the right, the last mode is the preferences. You can set up your employer preferences, your check printing preferences, your pay stub, your compliance, all separated out, not in one long page where you have to look for them. On one click, you would actually reach to the place where you want to actually work. So this is, again, the setup is consolidated in one click. You look at the setup and you know what all you need to set up, and you can't miss. I mean, we can't miss. Yeah, it's very, very clear in front of us. Also at the bottom, we can see that email an employer for the setup information. So if we like to gather some information from the employer first before we start filling up some of the information that we already have, click on it and follow the process to send an email to the employer. This is I'm not sure how many people actually use this. This is a very powerful tool. This is a tool that avoids errors, because if we are allowing our clients to give us some of the information electronically typed in, there is much less likelihood of typing wrong names, typing long addresses, EIN numbers, and so forth. So I would suggest use that as much as possible. And now we're in accounting power. We just moved from payroll into accounting power, and you can see at one glance you can't even differentiate unless you start reading what's there. So exactly the same menu structure, exactly the same learning curve. Again, all the company setup, chart of accounts, sales, expenses, and jobs, all available to you at one click. So you don't have to search for it. You don't have to go to different menus to set up a client. Here it is. It's more or less a visit. Just go one at a time and fill it up, and you're done setting up a new client. Next, we did very similar treatment with reports. If you can, we just saw setup, one click setup, click on one button, everything that you need to set up is available. Very similar treatment for reports. As a new customer, or as a new firm employee, or as a staff member, what reports are available to me? How do I know that? So do I need to go to each section, find out which ones are available to me? And you got to click at least 3 mouse clicks or 4 mouse clicks to reach to a particular report if it's part of your usual navigation structure. Here, every report that you have is available to you on one click. You click on that particular report, you will be there. And not only that, it also provides a holistic view of what all reports are available to me. What reports are available to me in compliance, payroll, employer, or employee. Oh, but yes, one more thing. The management reports are now being renamed as employer reports because they do make more sense. Okay, so payroll relief, and we're looking at the report menu. One click reporting. Just click on a report, you are into it. You don't have to look for them. You don't have to guess what reports are available. You can see in one shot and understand what is available to me in the product. Now, same thing, accounting power. All the reports are available, same place, one click, and the reports just pop out. And I just clicked one of the reports, a trial balance report. I'm in trial balance. Now, one thing it interestingly does is it collapses the side menu, and these are the things that took some imagination from a lot of people, and how to make it more user friendly, and how to make it so that the navigation is not only intuitive but actually efficient. And what we do is you select a particular report, it collapses the side menu, which of course you can always click back on it and it'll come back, because now it shows a sub menu of the reports. So you don't even have to actually click. Now you're in a particular section of reporting, transaction reports. You can actually look at all transaction reports from here. So you don't even have to go back to that main menu. You can if you like that. It depends upon how you like it. It's still going to be one click, either one click here or bring this up and click on that. So now it becomes available right here, and you can choose whichever report you want, run it. Again, please look, take a note down here. Excel, export to Excel. Word, export to Word. Printer function is to print, and it'll open up a PDF and you can print that PDF. So the use of these icons make again the training, the getting used to the interface much easier. Okay, so we talked about related actions. So now I'm in accounting, by the way, not in payroll. This is an accounting screen. Again, looks exactly the same as payroll screen, same structures, same menu items or similar menu items. What we talked about, the related actions. This is very important. Very important to remember and understand what goes here and what is the purpose of it. So we did talk about the purpose of it a little bit. Purpose of it was to take the actions that are less used out of the screens so that the usability of the screens, the clutter of the screen can be cleaned, can be taken out. So the usability of the screen becomes easier. Um, Something that you don't do every day, like void a check or delete a check, that's not something that you do every day, or I would do here every day. That has been moved into into related actions, or create a template, or receive payments and make invoice reoccurring. So these are the one-time, less often events, and they have been moved into related actions. Related actions are also just one click away. It's right on the bottom. Pop it up, and you can take whatever action you want, or you can close it if you don't need it after that. Just press this down arrow. It'll close the action plane. All right. This now we're back to payroll relief. This area is going to need a little bit of attention from all of us. I think this is the area where I believe most work has gone in, and I think the most output has come out. So if you can look on the top, there are no tabs anymore. The whole payroll entry screen has become just one screen. There are no 4 tabs that you need to move between, check between options, between preferences and all of that stuff. It's all one screen. Makes it much easier to use. Totally, absolutely non-confusing. Makes the transition to the new user interface much simpler, smoother, because there's nowhere else to go. Everything that you need to do from a payroll entry perspective is right here. These 3 dots on the side, on the right hand most column, you would see is more options, and we will go over them in next couple of slides. They're very important. Again, please notice that save, the second last button, cancel, always the last button, calculate, and import, which these were all blue buttons on the right hand top corner, on the bottom now. So if you look at it, if you look at the screen, you are scrolling. If you look, the screen is actually getting cut. So there is a part of the grid that's below. That means I can scroll more, but my navigation is static. That means I have access to this navigation at any minute, any time. I don't need to scroll up and down to look for buttons. So we're going to spend a little more time on payroll entry screen. We understand that some of our clients have a lot of pay types, and the payroll entry screen does expand. In that case, definitely you can, and I would do that, use the collapsible menu so that you could get more real estate on the screen. Related actions. These are actually the related actions that are going to be available on your payroll screen. Payroll options is really the preferences for a particular payroll. So if you select a regular payroll, the options that are available on that means you can set the date, change other things that we need to do. I'm going to come to skip in a minute. Email template to employer, as we always know, that just basically sends a template to the employer, or download the template yourself. And if the business model is that you fill up the hours, somehow the hours arrive to you in a different way than you or your staff does, then you can of course download that template or send it to the client, have the client fill it up and pass it back to you and upload it. Again, upload button is right here. You can upload that. Click on it. It'll open up a small pop-up, say browse the file and upload your hours. Now, the next slide is going to talk about in detail this. This is actually was one of the challenging and most exciting part of this page's implementation. The 3 dots, the more options. Now, every taxable fringe benefit is available right on the same screen. You do not have to go create a second check or find another tab and click another option, find that particular option and enable it, and then add values. You don't have to do that. It's right here. You want to enter GTLI, just click on GTLI. It'll pop up a box and ask you for the values. You want to add health insurance for 2% stakeholders. It's right here. Third-party sick pay, one of the most important things I think used on a day-to-day basis, right there. Net to gross is right there. Delete a check. Okay, I just want to make sure you actually cannot delete a check unless it's a second check. So I have actually created a second check here by clicking second check. That's why I'm getting this option of delete a check. If I click this on a primary check, my options would be add a check. So I would get an option saying add a check here rather than delete a check. If I clicked on the 3 dots of the first check. So I can, right from here, I can add a second check. Also, the second check added will be color coded. Currently, it kind of gets mixed up, and it's a little bit hard to identify which one is the second check. So we're going to color code that, give it a little light background color that tells the user without going through reading names to say this is a second check. I know this is a second check, and that's available right here. These are the payroll options, or the preferences as we remember them. Clicking on the payroll options would pop up the screen, lets you set up pay dates, disable child support, whatever options you need to take, or add a second check. If you want to add second checks on a bulk basis, which you can, of course, you can add it by a department and go and save it, and add and then save. So before we move to the next screen, I would still like to just go over this portion one more time, just so that we kind of we kind of take it in and understand what has changed here and how it has become so much more helpful, so much more straightforward to do than multiple tabs and going through that. So all fringe benefits that were earlier available in the second check, you had to create a second check and then add those fringe benefits, are now available right on the screen with those 3 dots. Please remember that some fringe benefits can be added to the primary check or the first check, some cannot be. And as you will go through the list, so if you don't see a fringe benefit that you have created a pay type for in the primary check, that most likely what it means is that you're not allowed to add that on the primary check. So we have taken the guesswork out of that. That will now be available in the options. As soon as you create the second check, click on the 3 dots or the more options of that, and it'll be available to you. And again, if by mistake created a second check, delete it. You can delete that check. Of course, you can't delete the primary check. Another interesting thing that I want to go over is this particular box here. This is employee search. So you have 400 employees, and it's very hard to find a particular employee. Simply type their either first name or last name and a minimum of 3 to 4 characters, and it'll find the employee for you. So in this case, it's actually this is a result of a search, and it'll basically bring all the employees that match that particular criteria. All right. So fringe benefits here, related actions here. Related actions have the preferences, email template, download template, and the skip. I wanted to actually come back to skip So skip will do two things. Skip, once you click on the skip, again, if you really notice, we don't usually skip payrolls. It's not an event that people do every day or every pay cycle, and that's the reason that has been moved into related actions. So once you click on skip, it's going to show you two options and a pop-up, and it says, you want to skip to uh, you want to skip this period, or you want to skip to the current. So if you haven't, if the client hasn't done payroll in a long time, and they want to skip to the current period because they want to start processing payroll now, they can just choose the second option, which these options were available before too, but they were available right on the screen. And we believe that there was no need for that. It actually makes much more sense to put them in related actions, where when they are needed, they can be used, but not clutter the screen and not confuse the user. All right, so it'll show up the options again. Going through the same slide. I just wanted to go through this slide multiple times because I just want to make sure that we fully absorb it, and we can see it, how easy it is and how convenient it is to do payroll entry as as compared to going through multiple tabs. But also remember, it hasn't changed much in a way. The learning curve should be minimal because the grid is still the same grid. All those fringe benefits that we used to add on the second paycheck, read a second paycheck, or in a separate tab, now brought up here. Ease of use, convenience of use, but the concept is the same. It's just become easier to use. If you needed to make any changes to preferences or payroll options, and it was called before preferences, now it's called payroll options, which we believe makes more sense. You just go there in the related actions and click on that and make the changes. Again, this existed before too. It's just that it's more conveniently available right on the same page under related links. Okay, so once you do your calculation, you will be brought up into this screen. This screen is the payroll review screen, and if you remember, there used to be 3 tabs on top. Those 3 tabs have been removed, and they have become buttons at the bottom. Again, the concept is same. Every action so that there is no confusion in this case, every action that you need to take is right at the bottom. So if you want to go into the details or do a modification to this payroll, you can choose one of these 2, or send a report to your client, or send an email. I'm sorry, or you look at a report or send a report, send an email to your client, the report set that you might have created. You can do from here, or approve it. Before you approve, definitely go to details. Here's the detail view. So nothing new in this view itself. It's the same view you had before. So the learning curve should be minimal, but there is no other clutter in this, just detail view. Only 2 buttons at the bottom, summary and modify. Or so you can modify or go back to the payroll review, the main payroll review screen. Okay. So if you want to modify the payroll, it is a screen for that. It's the same screen that we had before, just compacted a little bit and available from the bottom. So while you're in the modify, now you can go back to summary or detail, or save or cancel if you actually made a change here. So this is if we look at it, I'll go back a screen or 2 just for us to grasp it a little bit. When you are in review, you have summary and modify available. You can shift between them. When you are in modify, you have details and summary available. So you have details and summary available to you. You can move between them. So there are 3 options. You can move between those three options. You go to a particular options, the other two become available, and vice versa. So if you go into the summary, the main review page, the first that appears, you can go to you can of course go to details or modify, and eventually if all looks good, you can approve the payroll. Print check screen has not changed. It's the same screen. The only difference would be, again, if you want to add and check, plus sign, save to cloud cabinet, email, add a third-party check, or you want to run a test, or email reports. So these options were there on the top on the right-hand corner. Now they are available here. You don't have to scroll. If you are at the bottom of the page, you don't have to scroll up. It's all available right here on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side of the screen. This is another interesting thing that got added, and in the beginning of the presentation, I did talk about that we're gonna talk about the diagnostics. So by clicking this from any page, anywhere in the application, you can actually now see the full diagnostics that are available for the whole application for that particular client. Remember, all the functions that are on this gray bar are also for client. All the functions on the left are for the client that you selected. All the functions on the gray bar for the client that you selected. All the functions on the top are firm-based functions. Just top is the firm-based, like a hierarchy. Top is a firm-based, left and right clients. And bottom, actions on the page. So you can actually look at employee diagnostics, contractor diagnostics, or employer critical diagnostics right on one page here. Once you get into the employee diagnostics, now we added a little bit of we were trying to understand how our user base actually works, and that is, I think, is one of the most critical thing to understand. You can sort, it depends upon, you may want to sort the exceptions by name. That means I would go to a particular employee, fix all their exceptions, or I would sort it by warnings. That means I would rather handle all the address not filed first. And I can take a printout of this thing and just go from one exception to another exception, moving between employees, or I can take a printout when I sort it by name and just go back and forth. And if there is only one or two here, I can just click on it and go directly there. Okay. This is another new addition to the process, and I think it's going to be pretty valuable. This feature is so much expandable, and it is where we are using now is going to provide a lot of value. So if you go to the employee screen, and if you see that red dot, red circle with an exclamation mark in it, it's a sign that this particular employee has some warnings. So you click on that and it'll tell you exactly what warnings. So individually, you're browsing through employees, you have a small number of employees, you want to browse through all of them, or select the employees that you just saw had warnings. This will tell you each warning that particular employee has. So you don't have to go back and forth to another page to look at that employee's warnings. You can see, once you identified which employee it is, go to that employee using our type ahead control and find all the warnings, fix them, making it very easy. And also, kind of bringing it to the surface while you are in this screen, that what may be missing for a particular employee. It does not stop you from functioning. This does not stop you from going ahead and doing work, but it'll always be there in front of us to tell us that there is a problem, there is a warning here. Some of you have already been using, the next process improvement that has been done in last few months, I would say, is the tax payments. The screens have been simplified, and I think the way they are available now and the way they work now is just so much simpler. You can look at your pending payments. These are the tax payment screens in Payroll. You can look at your pending payments. You can look at the payments made just by one click. All you have to do is one click and go to payments made. You see the payments made, external payments, and pre-funded summary. You click on the grid on a particular line item, and it'll open up the options that are available for that particular payment. Like in this case, I can record it, or I can cancel it, or I can click on a pay different amount, and I can add a different amount and save it. Very convenient, very easy to use, and I think makes it so much simpler. So I'm just going through the different screens. If you go through pre-funded summary, and you can actually look at the details. Okay, so this is the payments that you have made. It's all available, how they were made. They were pre-funded in this case, and it's available. Very easy to look at, very easy to understand. Now, I know that there is one concern, and of course everybody understands that our client, there are some of us in the firms who have a more of a self-service model, where the clients do a lot of processing and do a lot of usage of the application. So I wanted to actually touch upon the client view as well, and just want us to understand there is not much change for the clients. It's exactly very similar, subtle changes. The learning curve should be minimal, I would believe, but it is the changes are going to be useful. It's only going to be useful and better, but not to the extent that they will have to go and search for things that they were used to in a particular way. So we'll just go over the client view, and we are going to again shift between Accounting Power and Payroll, just so that we can get an idea of how both applications are available to the clients. And client is the end employer. So when one of the employers or the clients actually logs into their portal or their application, their online system, they will land up here. Very similar. They have announcement, very similar to actually your landing page, but you just have different options. On the right hand side, the gray menu bar, again, they would be able to do some management here, change their passwords. We'll go a little bit more in the management part. This is an accounting, in this particular case, this client has access to Accounting Power, Cloud Cabinet, and Payroll. So there is absolutely no training needed for this page. You log in, you see I have access to Accounting Power, Cloud Cabinet, and Payroll Relief. I would click on one of those buttons and or the links, and it'll take me to the application. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, client view. So I chose Accounting Power. As you can see, the menus that are because the clients have no firm functions, of course, that means there's nothing is going to be on the top except resources, which is training material, and quick links. Everything else is going to be on the left hand side. So the write-up, banking, trial balance, in this case integration. So whatever access you give them, as before, that has not changed. The underneath permissions have not changed. Whatever permissions you gave them before, they got access to those items, those functionalities. It's very similar. It's the same as before. It's just that the menus have become more intuitive. Now the submenus of and the modern look, of course, the submenus have not changed. So they should have absolutely no problem finding items. It's if they want to go to banking, and all the submenus are still there. If they go to write-up, all the submenus are still there. Again, at the bottom, there is a plus sign, which is an add. You want to add a check, press the plus sign. You want to go list of the checks that you've done, you go to a particular list. I'm sorry. Press that. It'll take you to a list. 3 parallel lines with dots is always going to be a list. So if you are in a particular function, an area, you want to go to the list view of that area. See multiple at a time. Like we saw the example of employees. Press the list icon and it'll take you to the list. You want to print it, of course, printer icon, save and cancel. Always second last, always last. Related links, depending upon the page, there might be some things available here. We'll just go into that quickly again. These are reminders. Reminders have been the bell icon for the longest time. It's very, very clear, very obvious. This is dashboard as it was before, and we will touch upon these 2 items in next couple of slides. The topmost icon here on all our applications, the firm side or the client side is exit. Basically, you're exiting and help. Okay, so this particular client has a lot of access, practically access to all the reports and a lot of functions here, practically every function. But notice there will not be a select client at the bottom, and they're going to see the reports that they've access to. Now we move from accounting, we move into payroll relief, but just to show the concept, because what applies to accounting power also applies to payroll relief, and what applies to payroll relief applies to accounting power and practice relief and cloud cabinet and any other product. So if you click on setup, which is a setup for firm, when firm logs in, it's a setup icon. You also get the same functionality of setup. Reports, same thing for firms, same thing for clients. They just will only see what they have access to. So if once a client clicks on the setup option, they are going to see the availability or the permissions or the setup items that they have permission to, that you as firm owners or firm users have given them permissions to. Okay, so very, very, very clean. Again, it should be actually very simple for them. Just press on the setup, see what they have access to and what they need to do and what they need to fill in. Dashboard, beautiful dashboard with colors. This is of course available in both accounting power as well as payroll. It's very, very, I mean, a picture is 1,000 words. So I think it's even more than that, especially this is not one picture. It's got so much data in here and so much information with graphs, with tables. I mean, very important tool. Okay, so now we're still in the client view. We're in payroll relief. If you look at it, their grid is the same as it was before and as it is now yours as well. So the grid has not changed. Again, we just added a few more functionalities and streamlined it and made it better and easier to use. So if you want to search for an employee, just put their employee's name and search it. You don't have to go scrolling 100 employees down and try to find somebody. More options will be available to them as well as it is available to you. Related links, staff view in the corner. If they want to see how the staff, other members of the staff will see this, they can click on that depending on what permissions they gave. Upload, as usual, calculate. If you have given them access to do that, they will be able to see that button. If not, as before, then they can't. Okay, and save and cancel. Again, very similar options available. Some options that, of course, are firm related will not be available to them. They can download the template, skip it, or configure the payroll, this particular payroll using payroll options. Okay, so these will bring up the same, clicking on more options will bring up the same options that it brings up for firm users: GTLI, third-party sick pay, add a new check, 2%, or delete a check if it's a second check. Again, the options will only be available on those line items, on those checks where it can be applied. So if a particular fringe benefit cannot be applied to the primary check, to the first check, it will not be available. So the fact that it's not available, and you have that as a pay type in your system, create the second check, and it will be available there. And you can, delete a second check if, of course, if you did it by mistake, the first check can never be deleted as usual. Okay, great. So this was the, I think we've gone over the complete presentation at this point in time. We're going to look at some other quick look at some of the other products, how they are going to look. So I will just go over them. AFP, very similar concept. Setup, reports, client related items, and firm related items on the top. Practice relief, again, also got a facelift, and it's, everything, there's nothing client related in practice relief, so there's nothing on the left hand side, everything goes on the top. And of course your setup and your reports, as you can see there. All right, so before we conclude this presentation, I hope you all enjoyed it. I just want to give a couple of shouts to a few people here. This was a big project, and product development worked pretty hard. The software development team, the guys did a great job, and the QA team, who's actually involved right now and working very diligently and trying to find issues before the product launches to you. So I just want to conclude by saying that the changes are subtle. The changes are very obvious. It'll make, I think, the life of the users, whether it's client, whether it's firm users, easier, better, easier to use the product. The learning curve should be minimalistic. We will also be coming out with a small video for the clients, so that you as firm users will be able to distribute that small video to your clients if you feel that you need to. All right. I think if you have any questions at this point, we will probably remain open for another 5 minutes. Send it to, please type in to Roger, and he'll be happy to respond. And thank you very much. Thank you for paying attention, and I hope this was enjoyable. Remember, left, client, top, firm related, right hand side gray bar, client, bottom is all whatever you are on the page. That's it. And related links, very simple concepts. All right, good night. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Harvey, great presentation. Just wanted to touch on it. If you can go into the question sections, a couple of questions that some users asked that were not possible to answer or didn't have a direct answer for them. Maybe you can add some clarity to them. I think also some users were asking about the employer's name not appearing. I know on my payroll demo, the employer's name does appear just like it always did before under payroll relief, because they were saying, well, how do they know what payroll, what employer they're on? But I guess in your presentation, it didn't always show the employer in because of the testing that you did or the screenshots that you took when you were putting this together. So that might answer that one. But just take a quick look at the questions. Only a few that they asked some questions on that might need a little clarity. You might want to jump in on them.
Okay, I'm actually just scrolling through the questions.